this is Tradu, and this is my fourth video in my series of Mana Forge Omega Mythic Shadow Priest VOD review commentary videos. This is going to be Forgeweaver Araz. For this fight, I think you should just play Archon. Voidweaver is fine, probably, but Archon is actually good. This is mostly because of the pillar phase, the conduits. That's where Archon is going to be better, just clearly, than Voidweaver. Everywhere else, they're probably fairly comparable. Voidweaver is better at leveraging the damage amp, but CDs don't line up with it very nicely unless you hold, so that's not a huge advantage either. It's basically some Mindflay Insanities as Archon versus Void Rift window without your big cooldowns. So, whatever. Class tree, nothing special. You don't need any utility here because you can't participate in the DC chain anyway. And on the gear side, also nothing special. Unused trinket technically maybe if you hold for the damage amp, but I don't think that's correct. So yeah, nothing special there on the gear side. So let's get into the fight. First thing that happens on pull is that he's going to turn on one of his conduit collector pylon-y thingies. It's random which one, so you can't pre-position for it really, other than being in the middle of the room and just praying. Either way, dodge the circles, dodge towards the first set of circles that spawn. In this case, there's only one set. Later, there's going to be multiple. But dodging into the first set means that you have more room to play in and dodge later ones. When the ad spawns, you can pre-crash them and just start hitting them that way, which is cool. The first soak, everybody basically is in. As Shadow, maybe you'll be assigned to the quote-unquote immune soaks later, because dispersion is a big CD, but that's kind of annoying because it griefs your void form, but maybe. The first echo you want to focus down, because otherwise it starts being annoying with other mechanics going on. And you can see here, getting the halo and mindbender during the dodge is basically where your void form ends anyway, so you're not super likely to get a long extension here. Second soak is coming up. This one is one of the quote-unquote immune soaks, which means everybody else is going to press big defensives as well. Desperate Prayer Fade makes it very comfortable to live, but if you have nothing, you can just get randomly one-shot by one of the collectors shooting you and the AoE going on at the same time. So press your CDs, even if it doesn't feel scary, it's just insurance against RNG one-taps, essentially. Make sure you keep Vampiric Touch on the echoes on the second and third one, because those just get cleaved down over time, meaning it's free damage essentially if you keep dots on them. Whereas the first one, as I said, gets focused down. These pools, try to move well for them, not really that much to say, drop them outside the raid. And make sure to pre-crash the ad as much as possible, and then press your good buttons, like your Mindflay Insanity. One good way of remembering the Arcane Echo is to just manually Vampiric Touch it before each round of ads. That way you're sure it has Vampiric Touch remaining. And then here we're going to go into the intermission. In the intermission, there's two spots you can realistically play, because you want to hit all of the pylons. Either you play on this thing here in between the grates, where the boss is during the damage amp basically, or before you pull him. Or you can play here on this little thing, where orange is, until this purple circle on the floor, roughly. The problem with this spot is that it's very easy to get zoned away from hitting all three conduits by the beams that they shoot out. Whereas here you have a lot of room to play with. So it's very unlikely. Because over here you are further away from the side pylons, so it's more finicky to stay in range of all of them. Whereas here you have roughly the same range to all of them, and it's pretty comfy to stay in range. I've been assigned to hit the Arcane Echo a bit more here, just to balance out the collectors, but Other than that, just dodge and hit the collectors. Make sure they all keep their dots at all times. That's something I mess up regularly. Like you can see, this collector lost its Vampiric Touch. I believe the boss frames are in the order they spawn in, meaning you can't reliably say, oh, this is orange, this is star, this is purple, or whatever. I'm pretty sure it's just spawn order. And then for the damage amp, you want to keep some Mindflay Insanities as Archon, and as Voidweaver, it lines up fairly naturally with a Void Torrent, but nothing else. And then it's back into the main phase, where he's going to spawn all of the collectors at once, instead of spawning them one at a time now. Meaning here it's just dodge. You can't really dodge into the first one, you just dodge somewhere and try not to get hit. And then you're back to getting the ad spawns. And this phase is much shorter than the previous one. So it's a thing. Here's another immune circ where you're meant to press defensives. I don't have my Desperate Prayer, so unfortunate, but I live anyway. I just disperse it. Here, once again, I crash late because I am slow in the brain. Ideally, you make sure crash lands exactly as the ad spawn, which is like 1.5 on the ad spawn timer or something. And then here we have another echo that just gets cleaved down over time. So just keep Vampiric Touch on it, because we are going into the second intermission phase, where it's the same as the first one. You just play on the same spot. And in my case, again, I hit the echo a bit, get dots up and everything, and keep hitting the echo. The boss is the boss becomes invulnerable in this phase, but until he actually stands still and puts up the shield, you can still hit him. So that's one way to milk a tiny little bit of extra boss damage if you need to, by just continuing to hit him until he actually stops over there and puts up the shield. And in this phase, just because last phase is not that hard, we end up pressing Bloodlust towards the end of it, just to clean up and help out the healers. This is a bit rough for them. You can see I press Mindflay Insanity just as the beam spawn, which was done, so I lost basically an entire channel. And here, yeah, we're cleaning up the collectors. People are starting to bleed out because we're going too long in the phase. We get the burn with a couple of seconds of Bloodlust still remaining, but not that many. 5 seconds or something. So half the burn. And you just hit the boss. The attendants are going to melt because of Psychic Link, so it's fine. Then here in the last phase, he knocks you, does this cast, and then you want to play as far on this side as possible. He knocks you again. For the ad spawns, you want to put them over in the corner. Maybe you play in this corner, doesn't really matter, just the corner your guild happens to play in. You want to make very sure that they spawn in there so people can start their CC chain, which is why I'm just running mindlessly into the wall. And then obviously the phase has the suck that keeps ramping up, which you can't do that much about. You just kind of have to move with every instant you do have, and then let it drag you a bit with your Mindflay Insanities. As Void Elf, as you saw, you can skip backwards a little bit with the racial, but yeah, there's not much to it. You just be efficient with your movement GCDs, try to live as long as possible, and then the boss ideally dies before you get sucked into the void. And yeah, that's basically Araz. Good luck with your kill. And next up is going to be Fractalus, because the Demon Hunters are optional smiley face.